in the city of Philly, where the birds take flight. Eagle swag on the rise each and every night. Tone Marcus got the scoop ready to ignite. From the lanes of South Street to the Broad Street lights. Dashing like a running back, hitting every play. 9 guys in the zone, never led astray. Talking touchdowns, talking game day. Huddle around the mic, hear what they gotta say. Fly like an eagle soars in the sky. Tone Marcus always standing by. Bringing the heat, call it do or die. Philly squad, hear the battle cry. Fly like an eagle soars in the sky. Tone Marcus always standing by. Bringing the heat, call it do or die. Philly squad, hear the battle cry.
What's good? What's good? What's good, Utah? You guys are tuning into your Eagles all-season show featuring Coach Marcus from Pro Fan Talk and yours truly, Tone DeShields II from Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. Always grateful to be in the presence of you beautiful people. You guys are phenomenal. Make sure you guys stay active. Make sure you guys stay engaged. We are live on 2 YouTube channels. I repeat, you got 2 options. You can lock in on Pro Fan Talk. Make sure you guys go subscribe to the good brother, Coach Marcus, at Pro Fan Talk. And you guys can lock in at Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. You know the vibes, you know the energy, you know where our bodies be, you know where our intentions lie. We mean well, but guess what? If you talk crazy, we could bring the stick out. You feel what I'm saying? So shout out to my man, Big Marcus. Marcus, how you feeling, man?
I'm good, brother. I am exhausted from finally recovering from the meat sweats and all the cooking I was doing this weekend.
Memorial Day weekend. How was that for you? I mean, obviously you did most of the cooking, but you know, being with the family, being with the kids, the grandkids. That is.
Even though I'm exhausted, cooking barbecue is my thing. I'm one of them dudes that'll be out there for 10, 12, 14 hours cooking a brisket or a pork belly or pulled pork or whatever. This time I kept it simple. I did a brisket overnight. I did a bunch of hot dogs, some chicken. I did chicken a different way this time and got rave reviews for it. So just a little dabbling, but it was, you know, I'm exhausted from it, but it's a good kind of fatigue. Family was good. My little grandson came over, so I got to spend time with him. So it was all good. All good.
No, it's good to hear, man. Me and wifey, we kind of kept it chill ourselves. Just me and her. You know, all our family is either in Georgia or Philly.
Okay.
So me and her just do some food on the grill, made some hot sausages, some homemade turkey burgers, some skewers, you know, some shish kebabs, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, with some shrimp, steak on there, some chicken, peppers, onions, you know how it goes. So, you know, we kept it pretty chill, had some corn on the cob on the grill, you know what I mean? So Memorial Day weekend was a success. I got my cooking done a day or so earlier.
Nice.
I didn't want to cook on Monday because down here it was supposed to rain where I'm at. So that was kind of how things ended up, really. So I got my cooking done on Saturday and Sunday. So yeah, man. Other than that, though, good weekend. Ate good. Still got some leftovers left.
Yeah, we're gonna have leftovers for the week. Although my brisket is already gone. My brisket didn't last a day, bro. Brisket is gone, bro.
We was talking offline about that brisket. You sent me a picture. Yeah, and I'm like, if you sent me a video, scratch that. You sent me a video.
Yeah, y'all want to know about my brisket? Check out my Twitter page.
I'm like, damn.
I always post pictures when I'm barbecuing.
No, that look good, man. That look good.
We were talking about doing, like I've thought about doing like a cooking channel. The problem with a cooking channel is because it's just me. That is a lot of production because you got to set the cameras up and then you got to start, stop. Your hands are messy, so you got to clean your hands so you don't mess up your phone or your lens, and so it's a lot more to it.
That's a good point. Yeah,
just, you know what I'm saying. So that's why I haven't done. It's too much work for one person on a cooking channel. It's rough.
Yeah, you would have to have, to your point, right? You would have to have, let's say you are doing it by yourself. You would have to have your cameras already pre-set up, and then you have to, you know, start recording them close to the same, close to the same amount of time.
Yeah.
You're going to need a sky cam to look down at when you're cutting. So you're going to need that. You're going to need the 4 frontal cam. You're going to need a cam off to the side that kind of gets the wide shot. You're going to need your close-up shot. You might need at least 3 to 4 solid angles to get it the way you really want it.
At least. And I've done it before with one camera, but you still, because I got a tripod where I can set it up and film vertically or like looking down. But then eventually you're going to have to turn it to move it so you can see the grill or the smoker. And then you're going to have to move it so you can see inside of it. And all the different angles and stuff that you want to do, it ends up being in. And like I said, then you got to start and stop because your hands are a mess. And you ain't trying to mess up that $1,000 phone or that $1,500 camera lens you filming with. So it just takes longer. So maybe one day.
No, I feel that. No, you bring up a good point though. Nonetheless, though, at some point, even if it's a silent channel, meaning you just recording your stuff, you don't put yourself in it. You know what I mean? You just recording the process.
Yeah,
I think that'd be dope too.
Yeah, I'm gonna experiment with some stuff.
Yeah, for sure. But you know, we got some things to get into as it pertains to the Philadelphia Eagles. There's going to be a lot of experimentation with these Eagles because they got some new guys coming in.
O to the T to the A.
Yes, sir. Rookies coming in, for new free agents. You got some guys that tried out for the team not too long ago. You pretty much have a 90+ man roster, 90+ people on this team as of right now, as of today, showing up the OTAs. The guys are back after winning a Super Bowl. Many of those guys won their first Super Bowl. Lane Johnson got his second. BG got his second, but he's retired. But all those other guys got their first Super Bowl. And now there's a new aura. There's a new energy. I want to say the expectation is the same, but there's a new hue, a new reflection on that expectation that was last year. Now you are the champions, the reigning champions. Now you don't just want it, you're trying to keep it.
Facts.
It's a different energy that comes with that.
Absolutely. And you gotta, with the exception of maybe Cleveland, the NFL is collectively looking at us because we won the Super Bowl, because everything that just happened with the tush push vote. So like I said, with the exception of Cleveland, everybody's looking at us. So we're reloaded. Everybody's picking us to be one of the ones to have the best opportunity to repeat. But I take that with a grain of salt. We got to play some games before I even step on that minefield yet. There's a lot of things that can happen, and really it's hard to gauge in OTAs. But the one thing that I'm going to be looking to hear, I might even try to, because I'm off this week, I might even try to get down to a practice if possible. I'm gonna have to make some calls, but I just want to see how the offense is interacting with Kevin Patulo, because to me that's the most important thing right now. Everything else we good. Vic Fangio, Jalen Carter, Jihaad Campbell, I ain't got no problems with that. I just based on our last experience with a new offensive coordinator, we need to get over that hump. We need a fast start, or at least a solid start that tells us like, hey, this guy's got it together. He knows his business. So we'll see what's going to happen with that.
Yeah, Kevin Patulo, you bring up a good point. I'm glad you brought him up, because that's exactly where I want to start. I want to start with the idea that yet again, for a third year in a row, for a fourth year in a row, actually, the Philadelphia Eagles have a different OC. 2021 and 2022, you had Shane Steichen. Then 2023, you had Brian Johnson. 2024, you got Kellen Moore. 2025, you now have Kevin Patulo. Now, here's the cut. Kevin Patulo has been in the building since day one. He's been on Nick Sirianni's roster, his coaching staff. He's been on his staff since day one. Nick and Kevin Patulo are tied at the hip. When Nick went through that full sale coaching staff adjustment, Kevin Patulo was one of the only guys that survived the chopping block. I believe him, Aaron Moorhead, and running back coach Jamal Singleton. I think, in Jeff Stoutland.
Yeah.
But other than that, everyone else pretty much got kicked to the curb. Kevin Patulo has been the right-hand man of the offense. He's been the right-hand man of Nick Sirianni, Shane Steichen. He was the right-hand man of Kellen Moore. They were, they were tied at the hip. A lot of people thought Kellen Moore would bring Kevin Patulo with him to New Orleans. Obviously, he took his guy Doug Nussmeier. Him and Nussmeier have a lot of history with the Cowboys and with the Chargers, during their times there. But some people thought Patulo would be a guy that would be on his way out, looking for an OC opportunity. And lo and behold, he got his opportunity here with the Philadelphia Eagles, the team where he's pretty much raised his profile. Just going through his career history as a coach, just to make sure we put some respect on his name and just show that this guy isn't new to the game of football. Because sometimes when people get these OC jobs, people just think these guys just came out of nowhere.
Right.
But Kevin Patullo has kind of been a guy that's just been earning his keep little by little on every level. So he started out as a graduate assistant at South Florida from 2003 to 2004. 2004 to 2006, he was at Arizona as a graduate assistant again. Then he made his way to the NFL level in 2007 to 2008, where he was an offensive assistant and an offensive quality control coach for the Chiefs. For the Buffalo Bills, 2010 to 2011, he was the offensive quality control coach. And then he got elevated to offensive assistant and assistant wide receivers coach for the Bills in 2012. Then in 2014, he was the assistant wide receivers coach for the Tennessee Titans. In 2015 and 2016, he was the quarterbacks coach for the Jets. Then he went back to the college level in 2017 and worked as a senior offensive analyst for Texas A&M. Then he went back to the NFL ranks and was the wide receiver coach for the Colts from 2018 to 2019. He got elevated to pass game specialist in 2020 with the Colts. Then he finally got his gig with the Philadelphia Eagles, transitioning from the Colts to the Eagles, which was a lateral move. He became the pass game coordinator for the Eagles from 2021 and 2022. And he also got another tag onto that in 2023 as the associate head coach, along with being the pass game coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles. And now in 2025, he's an offensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles. So you can see the guy's had a steady rise through the ranks and has been, even taking lateral moves so he can eventually move forward. You get what I mean? Sometimes you got to take that horizontal move to get vertical. And that's kind of what happened with the Colts. I mean, you go from being the pass game specialist with the Colts in 2020 and moving on to the Eagles as the same position in 2021, and you become the OC in 2025. You know what I mean? Nick
and really,
Sirianni,
just a lot of those moves, it's my opinion that a lot of those moves, pass game coordinator, offensive analyst, they're all the same thing.
Yeah,
The
they're
only
just
difference is
they're created.
Right. You have different levels of responsibility. And the closer you get to an OC or a DC, the more the person with the job trusts you because they can't do everything.
Right.
And then there's a big responsibility game time on game day, because if you are offensive pass analyst, and so is the coach on the field or is the coach in the booth? So if the coach is in the booth, who's looking for coaches in the playbook? I got to call the play. What's the defense? Now we're looking at our analytics. We play in Pittsburgh. They're down the distance, third and long. They go in this defense 48% of the time when this guy is on the field. Then you got another guy sitting behind him with binoculars on.
Mm-hmm.
What's the package? So you got all of these people that work together just specifically to convey information. It's a network of people up in that booth, man, giving information on what they see, what they doing. They got somebody in the booth that got binoculars on just to make sure who got hurt, who's limping off the field. They starting corner, look like he got a problem on his right ankle. Let's exploit that. So you got different people doing different things. And the closer you get to that offensive or defensive coordinator, that's just a next level of responsibility that's heaped on you. But now you know how the sausage is made, right? You see it before it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to a point like Kevin Patulo, something happens, somebody gets traded, somebody takes another gig, somebody becomes a head coach, and before you know it, your time is in front of you.
Yeah, I think what's so cool about it as well, just to add on to what you said, is the fact that Kevin Patullo, he's seen how it can go right, and he's seen how it can go wrong.
Facts.
Remember, again, I don't. The reason I keep reiterating this point is because I think it's very important. He was here from the beginning.
Yes, he knows what not to do.
He's seen Shane Steichen maneuver.
Yeah.
He's seen Brian Johnson maneuver.
Yep.
He's seen Kellen Moore maneuver. I think now that he has the ball, he's probably in the best position out of all those guys coming into the role, because he's seen what the guy in front of him did that lost him the job, or how
Right.
he got, or how he became a head coach.
Correct.
He's seen it. So, I think Kevin Patullo, I think this offense, personally, again, I'm speculating, but I think this offense is in better hands than people think. I think Kevin Patullo, he wouldn't have been on this roster or on the staff this long if he wasn't adding something to the sauce. And the way AJ Brown speaks about him, you can tell there's a respect there, there's a trust there. Obviously, once the bullets start flying, all that stuff gets stress tested. But overall, I'm not in a place where I'm concerned about Kevin Patullo doing the job properly.
Right.
Based off his resume, he's a guy that's been growing and being groomed to this moment. I think Kevin Patullo has a big opportunity in front of him. I think he's a guy that's going to take the ball and run with it. I think this offense, especially with the offense being constructed the way it is, I mean, he has options. He's been given a king's ransom. He's been given a bevy of riches to be able to really take this offense to the next level. And AJ Brown spoke about this. He said, listen, when you're the top dog, even for myself as a wide receiver, it's important for me to go back to the drawing board and see what I struggled at, what I was good at, what guys, what team started to key in on. Was I able to take advantage of them? Were they able to take advantage of me? Where do I need to grow in my game? That same thing goes for Kevin Patullo. He has to have the presence of mind to understand that I'm not just inheriting a bevy of riches. I'm not just inheriting a Super Bowl caliber roster. I have to take this thing to another level. I have to. I don't want to say reinvent the wheel, but I had to throw more wrinkles into this thing, and not approach it like I have to just create this whole new thing. I got to throw more wrinkles into this. I got to add my flavor to this.
I think that's the thing where you have to use a lot of discernment when you step into that position.
Is it fair to, real quick before you go, is it fair to say that's where Brian Johnson went wrong? Because I think a lot of the time we said to ourselves, this seems like the same offense from last year. The teams are keying in on what we're doing.
I don't know.
Okay.
Because the question mark with Brian Johnson is and always has been, was that Brian Johnson's offense, or was that Nick Sirianni still putting his hands in the back?
Question. Very fair question.
So that's very difficult, because I got the sense that they weren't letting him do what he really wanted to do.
I agree with that.
And I heard somebody say this, and I didn't really think about it until I think I heard Tyrone say this when he was still 97.5. He was like, Jalen Hurts was close to Brian Johnson. At least that's what the perception is.
Right. And
you just fired him. So Jalen Hurts probably ain't in a good mood. Or it ain't all buddy with the coach. And you know what I'm saying? But he knows how to handle business, and he knows how to keep it professional. So there was always that question mark for me as far as Brian Johnson, because Brian Johnson had been there for a long time too.
Yeah, they all came in day one together.
Right. So the expectation for Brian Johnson is the same as Kevin Patullo. He's been there for a while. He knows Jalen. And you thought Brian Johnson had the edge because he had a personal relationship with Jalen from in high school, and knowing the family and working with his dad and all of that type of stuff. So
no, you're right.
And it just didn't work that way. And honestly, I'm looking at some of that stuff and I was like, did Brian Johnson really call that? Because that don't make sense. How come we had so many? How come we didn't have no hot routes that year?
It's funny you say that, because
you know what I'm saying?
There'll be moments in the game where we're like, okay, this thing is cooking now, and then all of a sudden it gets flat.
Stop. Exactly. And I was like, something it ain't feeling right. And just as quick as he was in, he was out. And it was only until Kellen Moore got here, and everybody knew that, all right, Sirianni's hands are out of this mix, because if they weren't, Kellen Moore wouldn't have taken the job.
Yeah, and also people got to understand, it's still Sirianni's playbook.
Yeah,
he's not executing it though.
Correct.
Which you know what I mean. So people got to understand. It's not like Kellen Moore came in here with these new plays and it's totally got rid of Nick Sirianni's offense. It's Nick Sirianni's offense, but play calling. There's a feel that's required. It's a feel. Yeah. There's a certain intuition and feel that one must have. Some people can draw it up, but when it comes to sequencing, matter of fact, perfect example. You ever listen to an album? Whatever genre, rap, R&B, whatever. You ever listen to an album and you're like, this album got good songs, but the sequencing just feels off. I would put this song here. I feel like this album is out of sync. The songs are here, but maybe they should have moved these songs around a little bit. It's kind of like that, right? You got some people who can make music, but they can't. They need somebody else in that building sequencing that album to make sure it tells the story.
Yeah, and that's fair. My question about Patulo is: are we going to be in the same situation as Brian Johnson was in?
It's a reasonable question
because we need to distance ourselves from whatever it is. I don't want to go back to 2022. We had too many question marks. We had too many. I don't want Nick Sirianni to be in a situation where we thinking about, well, maybe he should get fired after that game, because we knew everybody named Mama knew that Tampa Bay was going to blitz, and we weren't prepared for it. And it was like, that don't make sense to me. Mm-hmm. That don't make anybody worth their salt would have been prepared for that. We didn't have no hot routes. Like, what are we doing?
The ball. And we didn't run the ball.
It was, but again, now we done got a Super Bowl in the middle of that. So now Kevin Patullo knows what not to do and what to do. Mm-hmm. And he got the best running back, best wide receiver tandem, one of the best tight ends, and arguably the best quarterback in the league. It's not complicated. Right. And to your point, you got to be careful when you're trying to put your fingerprints on something. You know what I mean? I think I may have made this reference to you before. Don't nobody make mac and cheese like grandma. Why you got to mess it up? Why you got to mess it up? Don't, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah. And a lot of people, a lot of coaches, and the egos that come with it, they want to put their spin on it. It don't need to be spun. What you just saw, one of the greatest performances from a running back ever, one of two in NFL history. How you gonna spin that?
No, it's no need to spin that.
How you gonna spin that?
Listen, when it comes to that offensive line, that running back, and just the skill, like, all you got to do is, inside zone, outside zone, let them do them.
Right.
It's really that simple. They're that good.
And if there's anything, and this now comes to my personal bias, watching a running back specifically, we don't have to run inside zone all the damn time. Because if you look at a lot of Saquon's home runs was when he started inside and jumped outside.
Yeah, he started inside.
It was just him being him, and just being a phenomenal running back and sucked everybody inside, and he bounced. But that's a personal thing for me. But I can't. You remember what I would say is, like, when we win in, you nitpicking.
Yeah.
When you lose, you complain. So I'm nitpicking. How am I going to tell how they should run a running back after this man just got 2,000 yards and to us to the Super Bowl? How on earth can I complain? You know what I mean? So I think the biggest challenge of Kevin Patullo is to leave it alone. This recipe is phenomenal. Maybe we don't. Maybe you change a few things. Maybe you tighten up some things. Maybe you streamline some packages or things like that. For God's sakes, maybe they should throw screen passes a little bit more. But even with that, you look at the offense last year. When the offense struggled, I don't think it was from the offense struggling. I think it was Jalen was missing some passes, and and then he got that together.
Right.
So
I think that's the challenge, though. The challenge is what you just said. Not getting caught with your hands in the cookie jar, like not leaving your fingerprints on everything. And I understand where you're coming from. There is a such thing as not having. You don't need to reinvent the wheel, right? Like there's a reason why. There's a reason why we still use round wheels, right? There's nothing better than that. There's a reason why we still brush our teeth the old-fashioned way. There's only but so many ways you can cut this thing, right? It's certain things about life that doesn't need to be reinvented because it serves its purpose perfectly.
It's perfect the way it is, man. My biggest fear is that Jalen Hurts will throw for like 4,500 yards and we get bounced in the playoffs.
To your point about that, I don't think Jalen Hurts will let that happen. He doesn't seem like again. What I love about Jalen Hurts so much is that he does at all times. He does exactly what's required.
Correct. But that's why I say it's a fear. That's why I say it's a fear.
Mm-hmm.
I say it's a fear because I don't want him to be like all these other quarterbacks. I don't want him to throw for 5,000 yards and all these guys throwing for all of these yards that they always want to prop up in front of Jalen. And with the exception of Stafford, how many of them got a chip? Not many.
And the thing is, like, I don't mind him throwing for 4,000, 4,500. I don't mind, but I don't want it to seem like they're trying to make that happen.
Exactly. That's it right there.
And in 2023, personally, there was times where it looked like they were trying to make that happen. And it would have happened if did he miss a couple games in 2023?
He missed a couple games, but when the bottom fell out.
I'm trying to think. No, he was fully healthy in 2023. Well, not fully healthy, but he didn't miss any games in 2023.
Right.
2022, he missed like 2 games. In 2024, he missed like 2 games, I think, something like that. But nonetheless, though, I just don't want it to look like they're trying to air it out. Take what they give you, do your job, win the football games, be dominant. And hey, just how he did in that Super Bowl. The run game, they stepped up. Jalen Hurts said, all right, time to put my cape on. Simple as that. Win the game. And Jalen Hurts, that's what I love about this quarterback. I trust that he's ultimately going to do what's best for the team. And you got some quarterbacks that when things get a little tight, they become something else.
Well, if you remember, in 2023, because I remember looking this up, because I was tired of the narrative. I want to say the last 4 games, he needed to average like 225 or something like that a game. And I was like, that's easy. Doable.
And for some reason, the pass game wasn't working.
Well, but the bottom fell out with the we couldn't tackle. Because I remember specifically that game against Seattle, and I was like, "How the hell did we lose this game?"
That was the sign for me because, like, okay, losing to San Fran, all right, losing to Dallas, okay. When we lost to Seattle, the way we lost, I said, "Oh, we're cooked."
And that was at the height of Matt Patricia coming in and all of that stuff, and I was like, "This ain't right. They got too much confusion going on. There's too many voices, too many cooks in the kitchen." So. But I was looking at that. I was like, can he just throw for over 4,000? And then everybody will get off his back.
Mm-hmm.
And we couldn't even get that done. But even now, they start the narrative. I saw on ESPN a couple of days ago. Then now they having an argument because should he be considered elite and all of that type of stuff. And I still take the same stance. I was like, whatever you feel, the answer is yes in my book. The answer is yes. And while y'all arguing that, I'm gonna keep shining this ring. So y'all do you. If he throw for 3,500 and we get the chip, and he got the Super Bowl MVP, so that lets me know to what you just said, to that point exactly. When it needs to get done, it'll get done.
Yeah, man, I'm grateful for that. You got guys. You can see you got Jalen Hurts, who does what he's supposed to do, when they needed to get done. And you got some guys that just when they need it, they can't do it. Or they turn the ball over.
The last 3 MVPs have not won the Super Bowl.
Or they get tight. They get tight. Like, there's a real thing that people don't want to acknowledge about some of these top-tier guys that they love so much. They get tight.
Exactly.
They get tight. Lamar, Josh, they get tight in them games. You can, like, Come on, man. At some point, we should have saw Josh Allen in one Super Bowl.
Exactly.
I understand Mahomes is Mahomes, but come on now. Lamar, same thing. Come on now. And I'm at this point, I'm not even talking about it from a disrespectful perspective. I'm talking about from a spectator perspective, from a football fan. We should have saw Lamar Jackson in the Super Bowl at least once already. We should have saw Josh Allen in the Super Bowl at least once already. We should have.
When did Aaron Rodgers win the Super Bowl?
2011, I think. 2010.
When was that?
I think that was 2011 or 2010, something like that. Let's see here. So that was 2011.
Okay.
February 6, 2011.
So peep this. The last 5 NFL MVPs, Aaron Rodgers twice, 20 and 21, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. So you won for 5. You won for 5. So and technically, you could probably take Patrick Mahomes off this list because how many yards did Patrick Mahomes throw for in 2022?
How many yards did Pat Mahomes throw for in 2022?
Right.
That's a good question.
And last year, when they made it to the show and they were supposed to kick our teeth in, he didn't have a good year throwing the ball.
In 2022, he threw for 5,200.
Okay, so he went ham that year.
2024 was a career low for him, excluding his rookie year. That obviously doesn't really count. 2024 was a career low for him in passing yards, and he tied a career low for touchdown passes. The last time he threw 26 touchdown passes in 2024. The last time he threw 26 touchdown passes was in 2019.
How many yards he throw for last year?
In 2023?
Yeah, 24.
In 24, he threw 39-28.
Okay, so he didn't get past 4,000 yards. So the two quarterbacks in the Super Bowl didn't pass 4,000 yards passing.
That's a good point.
That's why I'm saying 1 for 5. Patrick Mahomes is the only one that's thrown for a ton of yards and won the Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers didn't do it.
Peyton Manning has the year he had that amazing year with the Broncos where he broke the record for most passing touchdowns in the season.
Yeah.
He didn't win the Super Bowl. They went, but they lost.
They lost
to the Seahawks, right?
I believe so.
I think they lost to the Seahawks, and then they got back the next year and they beat the Panthers, right? Or was it was it a year? Or was it 2 years later? Nonetheless, I know he got there the first time with the Broncos and they lost.
Yeah, I guess my point is that they always want to use that as the measuring stick, but it smacks them in the face because the win rate of all of these quarterbacks that are throwing for all of these yards isn't great. So that's not a, how do you want to measure it? Do you want to look at the macro and see how a quarterback relates to a team? How the hell can we have a Hall of Fame Aaron Rodgers still trying to decide if he's going to Pittsburgh? Like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah,
let's get with it. And people concentrate on all the other stuff that doesn't matter. Except, how is somebody playing in the playoffs? I don't give a damn what they did during the regular season, because once you get to the playoffs, that don't matter no more. Ask Matthew Stafford how that worked out last year. Yeah, ask Lamar Jackson how that worked out last year. How you gonna have Lamar Jackson should have won the MVP last year for sure, but neither him or Josh Allen still ain't got no ring. So I say all that to say, y'all can take all them stats and shove it because they don't matter. Stats don't matter. Stats only matter when you're on ESPN.
Stats matter at contract time if you're not a quarterback.
Correct. There you go.
If you're not a quarterback, stats matter at contract time. When at contract time, if you're a quarterback, your win-loss percentage matters.
Stats don't lie, but they do deceive.
They don't lie, but they can mislead for sure.
Absolutely.
For sure, man. And
So
we got 2
keep
super
the
chats
main
real
thing,
quick.
and let Jalen do his thing because it's been working.
Absolutely.
It's been working.
And when it's all said and done, when it's all said and done, yeah, we have those days where we talk about, oh man, the way that got through that football, man, and like a talent like Josh Allen, a talent like Lamar Jackson, a talent like Dan Marino, like we're never going to forget those talents, right? And Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and likely Joe Burrow will make the Hall of Fame, likely, just because how talented they are and the numbers they put up over the many years, and they still in their careers have yet to be fully written. But when it's all said and done, the people that get talked about are the winners.
The winners. The winners. How many?
That's the reality.
How many players like Jalen Hurts? And when I say like, I mean like, how many times have you heard where you got these guys like, I'm chasing greatness. I'm doing whatever it takes to be great. We got to, they talk that talk.
Mm-hmm.
But how many people have actually achieved it? How many people, that talk about chasing greatness and being great and doing what it takes and all of that type of stuff? How many people have actually achieved it?
No, you're right, man.
That's a hard dog to catch.
Yeah.
Even Aaron Rodgers, as good as he is, and I put him in a separate category because to me, he ain't somebody that strikes me as like I'm chasing greatness. I'm doing this. Doesn't mean that he's not great, but I'm looking at it from a leadership standpoint because now we're talking about Jalen Hurts, who everybody says doesn't have the best arm, isn't the best quarterback, can't read defenses right, gets rid of the ball too late, throws too many interceptions. Now you got all of the things that everybody wants to put down about him. Every time he throws a pick, he's not going to lead them. You heard the stuff when he got drafted. He is not. He's a great quarterback. He's a great leader. He's got all the intangibles you want, but he is not going to be the guy to take the Eagles to the Super Bowl. Remember all of that stuff when he got picked, when he got drafted?
Absolutely. All those things. They said I would never build my franchise around Jalen Hurts. I would Jalen Hurts at best is going to be a career backup. He should think about changing his position. All those things, man. And,
but you know what?
And it makes them uncomfortable that he won. It really does. Like it really puts them in a bind because now they have to question all those hot takes they've had before. They have to question their entire football dogma.
Wait a minute. You mean to tell me that they took a average at best talented quarterback and surrounded him with a good team and he still won
and developed him?
That's all you had to do. You didn't have to rely on the guy that can throw the ball 100 yards in the air.
Yeah, and obviously you don't mean you're not trying to take anything away from Jalen, but you're just trying to prove the point that a guy who was not talked about or lauded over as being the guy,
correct,
became the guy, and that kills people.
What do they talk about the most about his college career?
Getting benched at halftime. When in reality, the best season we've ever seen. When in reality, his best football was clearly in front of him. Yeah, he got benched, but they talk about that. I hate how the Oklahoma season just gets.
That was my point.
Brushed over. The Oklahoma season was by far his best college season. He was a Heisman runner-up. That season, he was box office.
Yes.
And all we talk about is he got benched. He's going to be a career backup. That season in Oklahoma where he led the conference, and I think he led the conference in completion percentage. He led the Big 12 conference in completion percentage, led them in touchdowns, yards per attempt, passer rating.
He threw for 3274. 43 touchdowns. 43 touchdowns, 20 picks.
Actually.
Or is that 80 touchdowns? No. I'm sorry.
No, listen. In Oklahoma, he accounted for over 3,800 passing yards, averaged 11 yards an attempt, 32 passing touchdowns, 8 interceptions.
There we go.
Had
32 and 8.
Had almost 1,300 rushing yards, averaged almost 6 yards an attempt, and 21 total touchdowns as either a runner or a receiver. He had 20 rushing touchdowns and 1 receiving touchdown and 32 passing touchdowns. This dude,
69% completion percentage.
yes, 69.7 completion percentage. Accounted for 53 total touchdowns. Accounted for over 5,000 yards in total offense. Only had 8 interceptions. Was the Big 12 conference champion, Heisman runner-up. Like the dude
But when he was at Alabama, he got benched because he wasn't playing well. That's the only thing people remember. He couldn't throw. He was having a terrible game. Benched him. Tua comes in there, wreck shop.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point, everybody forgets 2019 and what he did in the air.
Yeah, and what he ultimately sacrificed to get to that point. He put himself in an uncomfortable situation so he can grow his game.
He
put himself in an uncomfortable situation to grow his game. You got to respect that. I mean, working with Lincoln Riley, his passing prowess jumped exponentially. It's
crazy, man. And people they get selective amnesia and they talk about what they want to talk about. They don't want to look at the facts. They don't want to look at the stats when it doesn't align with their perspective.
You're right.
So even on the media heads, the ESPN football, NFL Network, and all of that, everybody talks about that last year at Alabama when he got benched. Nobody talks about Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about how he threw the ball. Come on, man. 32-8.
Even when they talk about it, they say, yeah, he got benched, and then he went to Oklahoma, and then they go on to the next topic. I'm like, yo, do we care about the game, or we just more so locked in on perpetuating a certain narrative? And I know the answer to that question, but it's just like, damn,
it's frustrating, man. It's frustrating.
It is frustrating when they act like a guy, and he showed he could pass. He could pass the ball, and then even showing the growth from 2021, when he became the starter, to now, night and day, man.
Meanwhile, they done gave Kirk Cousins damn near $500 million. All of these other quarterbacks that they paying all of this money to, they gave Sam Darnold all of that money in Seattle. Mm-hmm. They gave Geno Smith all of that money down in Vegas. They giving these guys all of this money, and it's like pulling teeth. It was like pulling teeth to figure out what they was gonna pay Jalen Hurts, and then it's like he ain't worth that, and blah blah blah. It was like pulling teeth to figure out what they was gonna pay Brock Purdy. It's been a whole lot of quarterbacks better than Brock Purdy that didn't make it with a team like the 49ers. And now what are they gonna do? Because they ain't got that team no more. So you make the most out of what you got when you got it. That's what Jalen's been doing. Jalen done made every coach he done had better. He getting he getting folks jobs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I want to see what Kellen Moore is going to do with the team that he's got down in New Orleans, because he ain't got this one. But that's what he signed up for. Kevin Patullo ain't stupid. He could have taken a job somewhere else. He could have probably got another gig somewhere else, but he knew what he was doing.
Right.
We ain't even got into the situation about Joe Douglas yet coming back.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, Joe Douglas comes back to the hand that fed him,
bro.
And you know
he took his shot.
Joe Douglas, he took his shot, and what I respect about it even more is that he played out the full length of that contract. Granted,
he sure did. It ain't his fault that
Aaron
Jones ain't got a when he popped his Achilles.
You're talking about Aaron Rodgers, yeah.
Aaron Rodgers. It ain't his fault.
No, you're right. I mean, look, one thing I say about Joe Douglas, he played the hand he was dealt. And they gave him a 6-year deal when he first got there.
Yeah.
He was in the 6th year. They fired him after week 11. And at that point, he probably was like, good, I'm out of here. Like, because once Aaron Rodgers got there, the entire hue of the building, the entire aura of the building, I heard shifted. And but overall, I
still don't understand how they fired Robert Saleh for that.
Yeah. That's the situation.
That wasn't nothing but straight disrespect from from Aaron Rodgers.
Right. And just the Joe Douglas coming back to Philadelphia. I mean, he comes back with a more robust resume now. I mean,
Absolutely.
let's not forget, he earned his chops in Baltimore, working under Ozzie Newsome, and he took it to another level working with Howie Roseman, where he was able to groom, take his talent to another level.
Yep.
And he's been crucial in 2 Super Bowl winning seasons for the Eagles when it comes to roster construction, talent and scouting and things of that nature. But with the Jets, he's drafted some pretty big names. Quinnen Williams in 2019, he's an All-Pro and Pro Bowler. Elijah Moore in 2021, I think he's a better wide receiver than what people give him credit for. I think he's a borderline 2 that's sitting, but sitting as a number 3 receiver. I think he's a borderline 2. And in my opinion, I think Elijah Moore is a talented player. Elijah Vera Tucker, guard, a guy who's been pretty solid. Had a pretty good season last year. In 2022, he drafted Breece Hall at running back, Jermaine Johnson at edge, Garrett Wilson at wide receiver, Sauce Gardner at corner. Both of those guys were Rookie of the Year for their sides of the ball, and Will McDonald on the edge in 2023. He has some names on his resume, but he also has Zach Wilson. Right.
If I was to be able to ask him any question, my question would be, what did you see, or what did your staff see in Zach Wilson that convinced you to make that move? And then the follow-up would be, what was the logic behind Aaron Rodgers? Because you don't this is the thing that where the fandom don't see. Do you have any idea how much time they invested in studying Zach Wilson? How much film they watched before they made that pick? That's
the thing, right? When these guys turn out a certain way, I say to myself, like, I'm questioning who's doing a job. But I hate to even think like that, because I would imagine these guys are putting in a lot of man hours. And sometimes I feel like you got people in the building saying, yo, this guy's not it. But because their position is what it is, they can't speak on it but so much.
And here's the thing that people don't understand. You get guys in camp every year. All the physical talent, they got the pedigree. They went to the Alabamas and the Miamis and the Oklahomas and the Notre Dames and the Ohio States. Yeah. They got every box checked except the one in between their ears. And people don't discover that because they so used to hiding that the weakness between their ears. We had a guy when I was a rookie with the Eagles. I ain't even gonna say his name because he was a legacy. He had somebody that he was related to that was strong with the Eagles. He was in camp. Everybody liked him in camp. He was getting it done. They gave him every opportunity. And one day, yo, where your roommate at? Yo, he was gone, bro. Missed his girl. What? Yeah, man. Packed his shit up in the middle of the night. Was out. So it wasn't. It was. Sometimes it's just like that. Sometimes you get these guys that get too ingrained in that party lifestyle, all of that type of stuff, but you don't know it until it happens. It's good until it isn't. And there is no amount of scouting you can do in the world that'll prepare you for that dude that comes into your organization and the first time he goes to a strip club in New York, he loses his shit. There's people like that. They can't handle it, but you don't know it until it happens. But once it happens, it's too late. Is that the GM's fault? Because now you're talking about a grown man.
Hey, listen, they need a Big Dom in the building. That's what they needed. They needed a Big Dom.
But look at it like this. Even Big Dom is reactionary.
Yeah, that's true. He couldn't get ahead of the Carson Wentz situation, could he?
Even he can't act until something happens. And sometimes when something happens, it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
Because in this day and age, back in the day, you can keep shit quiet. You can't do that no more.
Yeah.
You cannot do that anymore. And then, of course, Zach Wilson with what he was doing and dating the older women, and his mom got in it. And once the parents get involved in it, that's a wrap, bro.
They was calling my man the MILF Hunter. Oh,
bruh.
God.
And if that's what you're doing, that's your business.
Isn't it funny though how life comes at you full circle? Now Zach Wilson and Justin Fields were in that same draft. Justin Fields went to Chicago. The Jets selected Zach Wilson when they could have took Justin Fields. Now Justin Fields is their quarterback.
Yeah.
Isn't life funny sometimes, man?
Man, and you know what? Zach Wilson still might be a good quarterback. You don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. We definitely don't know about that. But Joe Douglas coming back.
Joe Douglas is coming back. And here's another thing I wanted to say. Yeah. Do you remember when Joe Douglas left and took the job in New York? And the talk was, what is Howie Roseman going to do? We're going to see if this is Howie Roseman or if Joe Douglas was the wonder child that was making all these decisions that was making Howie Roseman look good. Well, we see how that turned out.
Yeah, because Joe Douglas, his first season with them was 2019. So
he had a good start.
Yeah. So here's the thing about Joe Douglas, though, and we could put a pin in the conversation about him. One thing I will say about him, and when it comes to his tenure at the Jets, he drafted defense very well.
Exactly.
He drafted defense very well.
And now you got the best defensive coach in the league.
But offense, he struggled drafting offense. In particular, offensive line. His entire tenure, that Jets offensive line was not good. And Mekhi Becton was a part of that. But granted, he was being mishandled. He was battling injury. He got to a good situation with the Eagles, and he became a starting level right guard.
But you got to look at Mekhi Becton. Mekhi Becton is a very interesting study case.
You talk about it often.
Is it coaching matters?
Coaching matters.
So was it Mekhi or was it the people in the film room?
Yeah, because wasn't Nathaniel Hackett the coach at one point?
I believe so.
And then it was and then Saleh came in, right?
Yeah, but Saleh's defense.
No, it wasn't Hackett. And Hackett was the coach of Hackett was brought in as the OC when Rodgers got there because they knew they had that connection. Hackett was the coach for somewhere else where he was awful. It was the Broncos.
Yes, the Broncos.
Oh my God. Because what happened was the Broncos signed Hackett thinking that would lure Aaron Rodgers there. That was the same offseason when Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers were available. And they were trying to get Rodgers, and they couldn't, so they settled for Russ.
Right.
And it was so bad. It was so bad. They fired him. That following season, man.
So you had Dowell Lagaine in 2019 and 2020, offensive coordinator with the Jets. Mike LaFleur, 21 and 22.
Matt LaFleur?
Mike LaFleur.
Mike or Matt?
Mike.
Mike LaFleur? Oh.
11 and 23 record. Dowell Lagaines, 9 and 23 record. Jeremy Bates in 2018, 4 and 12 record. John Morton in 2017, 5 and 10 record.
I don't remember some of these guys.
These are just specifically New York Jets offensive coordinators.
Okay.
So they got a history of bad decisions
on offense.
Play callers.
And just bad decisions on offense. I mean, Garrett Wilson was a great decision, obviously, but couldn't really maximize that.
Right.
You know, Breece Hall was a good decision. It just seems like defense, the Jets had no problem. Oh, at least for as long as I've been watching football, for as long as I can remember, I grew up where the Jets had good defenses. I grew up in the Mark Sanchez era where they had a defense. Rex Ryan, right? They had Bart Scott over there.
And as bad as people think Sanchez is, look at Sanchez's stats against what they've had for the last 5 years.
Sanchez has been a godsend. Honestly, Mark Sanchez has been the brightest spot for the New York Jets in the 21st century.
Mark Sanchez was the Jets version of Nelson Aguilar. That one play haunts him. The butt fumble haunts him. The butt fumble haunts him. But look at his stats. Mark Sanchez is very similar to Mike Mamula. everybody thinks Mike Mamula was a bust. Mike
Stafford,
Mamula was not a bust. Look at his stats.
Stafford and Sanchez were in the same draft class.
Yeah, Sanchez was nice.
Stafford went number 1. Sanchez, I think, he went 2 or 3, right?
Something like that year.
Mark Sanchez went 5th. I remember that draft class.
Top 10.
I remember that draft class because Stafford went number 1. Sanchez went 5th. Who else? Ooh,
Sanchez was decent.
I remember this draft class because this is the Michael Crabtree draft class, the Percy Harvin draft class, this was the Jeremy Maclin draft class. I remember this draft class vividly. Kenny Britt, Beanie Wells. Yeah. I remember this draft class.
So, I mean, and I say all I have to say, coaching matters. Coaching matters. You mean to tell me we can take somebody like Mekhi Becton, move him out of position, and get a Pro Bowl performance out of him?
This entire first round. LaShawn McCoy was in this draft.
Yep, that was 2009.
Yeah. But Matthew Stafford is the only player from the first round of this draft class who's still playing right now.
Bruh. What is that telling you?
Damn.
People think
he's the only player. I'm looking through this whole draft class. I made it through 3 rounds so far. Matthew Stafford's the only active player from this draft class through the first 3 rounds. This is crazy. Now, granted, Matthew Stafford's entering what year? He's entering year 18. Year 17. So
Stafford was drafted to Detroit, right?
Stafford got drafted to Detroit. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you think he retires, do you think he retires as a Ram or retires as a Lion?
As a Ram. He won a Super Bowl as a Ram, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Yeah. That's easy. You retire with that chip.
I get it. He did a lot of his damage with the
Does Saquon retire as a Giant?
It's to your point. If you want to be defined by anything in your career, if you want to be defined by any part of your career, if I'm Saquon, that shit didn't even happen.
How does one season erase your whole career?
One season completely erased.
You had the second best season as an NFL running back in history. The second best.
You still putting Terrell Davis above that?
Kind of, because at the end of the day, if he would have stayed in the damn game against the Giants early in the season, he would have broke that record.
So you put an asterisk next to it because he didn't break.
So you got to put. So what I would do is I still put Terrell Davis as 1, but I put Saquon Barkley as 1.01.
Hey, listen, it's elite company. Let's put it elite company, man. I ain't even arguing. You know what I'm saying? That's like, you know what I mean? I'm not arguing at all with that. Like, that's like arguing with somebody about them getting in the Hall of Fame before I did. Hey, we both in the Hall of Fame. I don't really care. We both here. We're both here. I don't care if I'm second, third, fourth ballot. We here. So man,
I just want people to, and I know it's not going to stop because it drives too many clicks and it keeps people watching. But it's like all the media heads, man, pump y'all brakes and start watching damn film because clearly you don't. So
our guy, as Blunt saying, he broke TD's record. He technically he broke TD's record. Technically, he didn't break Eric Dickerson's record.
Correct. So that's why I said he is one of 2.
Okay. 2,000
plus yards in the Super Bowl victory. He wasn't the MVP. TD was the MVP.
That's a good point. There's only been 2 running backs that has ever had a season like this and being able to win it all.
You remember we had that show, and that's what I talked about. He chasing the wrong record. Everybody wanted to break Eric Dickerson, and I was like,
No,
you want to break Terrell Davis.
No, you on. You spitting right now. No, you're right. That's actually that's remarkable, actually. When you really think about that.
One of 2.
Because now we're several months removed. If you really just think about that season and what he did, we really like it's rare you live to witness greatness like that. And Terrell Davis was the last running back to do that. What was that? 1997?
Yeah. That was that John Elway's first or second? I can't remember. I think it was his second.
Let me see.
Because Elway went back to back.
Terrell Davis. That's crazy. Terrell Davis only played for 7 years.
Yeah.
But he was that was in 1998. Or was it 7? No, it was not. Yeah, 1998. The 1998 season, where he had over 2,000 yards in the regular season, and he had almost 500 in the playoffs.
He was ridiculous.
He was ridiculous. Actually,
that is why when I would get so upset, because I know you used to laugh at me. When I used to get so upset because they wouldn't run the zone reads off tackle, and I would tell anybody, watch a YouTube video of that year with the Denver Broncos. That was when Mark Schlereth was still playing.
Yo, this is
watch
crazy.
That offensive line and what they did to defenses, and you can't tell me that our offensive line is not better than them.
No, I hear you, man. I'm stuck on the fact that TD made the Hall of Fame off of 4 seasons.
4 seasons.
Because I'm looking because
he should be in the Hall of Fame.
A lot of people, to your point, a lot of people don't because of the time, and and they say that how do we make excuse for one guy and not another? But
exactly,
sometimes you got to make an excuse for just dominance. And Terrell Davis, I'm looking at this, man. He was
nasty.
You can make an argument he got in off of 3 seasons: 96, 97, and 98.
He was nasty.
Like, but the fall off is crazy though.
That offensive line did it. Same thing with Emmett.
Wasn't Mark Schlereth on that offensive line?
That's what I was saying. Schlereth was a part of that offensive line. Stink was the dude.
Was he a center or a guard?
Stink was a guard, I think. He wasn't a center.
He played from 98 to 2000. Schlereth was a guard, interior offensive lineman. He played guard.
He was good too.
Yeah, he played right guard in Washington. Then he became a left guard in Denver. 2-time Pro Bowler. He was one of the
dudes that had multiple knee surgeries and all of that type of stuff.
Yeah, and still played 12 years.
It's a wonder he can still walk, man.
2-time Pro Bowl, 3-time Super Bowl champ, 1 with Washington, 2 with Denver.
Yep.
Man. No, yeah, for sure. No, Stink is certified. He's certified for sure. Let's get to these super chats real quick, and then I got another topic I want to broach with you before we get out here. Is that cool?
Yeah.
All right. Roland with the $10 super chat. He says, I'm hearing a lot of comparisons for Jihaad Campbell to Micah Parsons. However, I disagree. When viewing the tape, he's more of a faster Clay Matthews to me. Go Birds. Roland, thank you for the super chat, my friend. I appreciate your your input. At least from my perspective, right? Whenever I make the Micah Parsons comp, I don't make it necessarily from like whose talent mirrors the other more. It's more so about a guy who just brings versatility to the position.
It's how they use.
Yeah, and how they're used. But I could completely understand what you're saying. Clay Matthews was a beast. He's a guy that battled injuries on the back end of his career. I think he battled concussions a lot.
I think the Micah Parsons comp comes into play because we think that Fangio is going to use him like Parsons is used. We're jumping up and down the line of scrimmage.
Right.
You don't know what gap he's going to hit. Jihaad Campbell has that type of speed and strength.
And the coverage ability.
Right. So he's you use the right word, versatility. We really haven't. Zach Bond could do it, but Zach Bond is not as fast as Jihaad Campbell.
Yeah.
So we got some linebacker traits mixed in with some edge traits. Mixed in with some off-ball linebacker traits that we've never seen at this level before.
That's why it's going to be interesting to see when Nakobe and him get healthy. How Fangio deploys this, because we speak a lot about how we believe that Nakobe and Jihaad are going to start the season on the PUP list. We believe that, but What if Jihaad doesn't start the season on the pup list? What if Jihaad just misses the first 2 games and then he comes back for week 3? Or Nakobe, it's just going to be interesting to see how this plays out, knowing Nakobe's situation,
Right.
and how he's in a contract year. He was a starter last year. He played very well and executed Vic Fangio's scheme to a T next to Zach Bond. We know they can play together. We know that. Is there a scenario where we see Nakobe get put back into the lineup and we see Jihaad Campbell being used in multiple other ways than just one, and so we can get both of them on the football field?
I think definitely there is, but also we forgetting the X factor that Trot Jr. is still there.
That
so
part
he's
as well.
going to be lobbying. So the linebacker position is going to be tight in camp, and it'll be very interesting because I don't know what his timeline for rehab is.
Yeah,
but it's going to be everybody's going to be waiting with bated breath to see Jihaad get on the field, and he is going to get on the field.
Yeah,
you don't pay somebody that type of money in the first round and then sit him on the bench
at linebacker, especially. So he's definitely going to
get on the field. So it looks like he's, whatever his prognosis is and what his schedule looks like, they're gonna play with it. They ain't in a rush.
That part, and you ever look at a guy and just know he's going to be good?
Yes,
that's how I feel about Jihaad Campbell.
I look at Jihaad Campbell like that, like I looked at Cam Jurgens.
You just
when
knew,
I saw when I saw Cam Jurgens in camp and he stonewalled Jordan Davis, I was like, "Yep, he's ready. He's ready now."
I felt that way about, if you want to keep the offensive line, I felt that way about Landon Dickerson. When I saw how he was moving in college,
yeah.
My only concern was, can he stay healthy? But other than that, for a guy who battled the injuries he's battled, the guy hasn't missed too many games. He's kept out of the lineup here and there, but he hasn't missed too many games. That speaks to that Eagles coaching staff. That speaks to that Eagles strength and conditioning staff and that athletic training crew. Like, that speaks a lot to them making sure they get those guys right. And also, that speaks to Landon Dickerson taking his recoveries seriously. Recovery
absolutely.
You played the game. Recovery is priority number one,
especially in this day and age, because it's so easy to see when you're not at your best. That's easily exploitable. So you got to be gone are the days where you put some masking tape and bubble gum on your knee and you go out there and you gut it out. Them days are done. There's too much technology available that can get you back on the field to 100% for you to rush it.
Yeah.
Even, I mean, heck, everybody look at the best example is always look at RG3, what he did. I'll never forget that day. I think it was a Monday night game. He didn't play, but he sprinted down the field in warmups and the crowd went nuts. He did it in pregame just to show everybody he was getting ready and blah, blah, blah. He's coming back. And then a couple weeks later, that knee folded. He zigged when he should have zagged. And they pulled the expiration date on that knee. And that was it. That was a wrap. And it's like prime example of you trying to do too much. You're trying to come back too fast. And your team wasn't going to the playoffs anyways. So you got to be careful with that. Now, I did see Nakobe Dean at the I'm sure everybody saw that video clip of Saquon and Coop doing the alley-oop. Y'all must have forgot.
Yeah, that was pretty exciting.
Cooper DeJean got them bunnies. But
yeah, I ain't gonna lie. He
got up.
He got up.
he got another video like that. He got another video like that at Iowa.
Yeah. And
I was like, man, y'all, this kid can jump out the gym. And also, if most people, I don't know if people notice, you see Nakobe Dean in the background. He wasn't jumping and dunking, but he was moving around, shooting hoops.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, everybody gonna be at least in the starting gate. No excuses. So the few times that I've reached out to Nakobe, he's like, rehab going good, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, hey, man, I hope to see you out there, bro.
Man, I'm looking at RGD's career right now. Brutal. Shout out to Alex for the super chat, man. He says, love what Mailata said about the 3 O-line rookies, about how he doesn't care if they come for his job because they'll make each other better in the process. Listen, Mailata understands that at the end of the day, as long as he does what he does, no matter how hard they try, he's not losing his job. Like, see, people got to understand that it's never about what the other person's doing. It's always about what you're not doing. And if you focus on self, at least I've always believed this. If you focus on self and focus on putting the work in, people won't see you. And the right people will make sure they put you in position. You know, at least specifically when it comes to the game, when it comes to the NFL, right? You know, talent doesn't get lost.
He's a different breed. They got a different perspective from coming from where he comes from.
Yeah, and he has a different perspective. So, but as far as those 3 rookies on the offensive line, Drew Kendall, Cameron Williams,
is it Hines Allen
and Miles Hinton?
Miles Hinton, that's him.
Miles Hinton and Drew Kendall come from football stock.
Yeah,
Drew Kendall's dad was an interior offensive lineman, and Miles Hinton's dad was an offensive lineman as well, Pro Bowl level offensive lineman. But all 3 of those guys, I think one of those guys, in particular when it comes to Miles Hinton or Cameron Williams, I think one of those guys are the Lane Johnson replacement. They just got to prove that they can take those next steps, because the Eagles have put themselves in a position where they don't feel their decisions when it comes to offensive line evaluation and drafting. They clearly believe that we don't have to reach for an offensive lineman. We can be patient. We can grab the guy we specifically want, and we trust our farm system. We trust Stoutland's ability to get him exactly where we need him to be. You got teams out here that gotta draft the best offensive lineman because they can't develop them. They don't know how, so they gotta draft the best one because he pretty much comes ready made. You know what I mean? Some of these teams got to draft guys in the top 5 or the top 10 or the top 15. They can't BS with offensive line. They can't. The Eagles, they can. Okay, we this guy has traits we like. Oh, you know what the Eagles do? They don't draft. They draft for freak traits, freak size, and then they build around that. And then they fill in the holes from there. It's like, yo, these guys are insane. You're not confident you have to be where you just want. You know what? I just want the biggest and the fastest guy, and I can teach him everything else after that.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me.
And we got all I need is for Lane Johnson to hold on through this year. That's all he got to do.
Yeah, does he have 2 years left in his deal? Because he signed an extension, right? So
I think this might be his last year. I think, but long enough to school these new guys.
I think
so. When that opportunity comes, that they can step in right away with no issues.
It depends. I don't know. Like, I was on that side of the fence, like it is maybe his last year. I thought last year was gonna be his last year, prior to the season starting.
Yeah.
And he didn't deal with any ankle injuries last year. That's pretty much been his thing. The ankle.
No ankle injury. His hamstring and his adduct.
Yeah, he had that in 2022.
Yeah, those worry me more than his ankles.
Right.
Because when your hamstring go, you can't do nothing, and when your adducts go, that's even worse.
Yeah. Lane is just honestly, he's one of those guys that if he just can't get up to if he can't just get up to bring himself to do the off the field stuff or the training camp, like you know better than anybody. It's all about Monday through Saturdays, and it's hardly about Sundays. Sunday's the easy part.
Sunday's the easy part. And he looking at Jason Kelce.
Yeah, and look, again, although Antonio Holmes, my guy, although he did sign the contract through, that doesn't mean anything. Like, at this point in his career, they gave him that because he's well respected.
Right. That's a signing bonus he cashed. That's a legacy contract. Yeah, that's a thank you contract.
Yeah, but he can retire at any point in that throughout the duration of that contract. Just because he signed that doesn't mean he intends to fully fulfill that contract. You got to keep it.
He's going to end his career as an Eagle.
You're right. And on top of that, you got to say to yourself, when guys get to this point, you got to know that they're on a year-to-year basis, no matter what that dotted line say. They're on a year-to-year basis. We knew that with Fletch. We knew that with Kelce. We knew that with BG. We know that with Lane. Those guys were on year-to-year contracts, no matter what extension they signed. So
let's leave him be. If you like it, I love it, brother.
For sure. And Miss Fanny says we got a bound on our heads now, champ status. You already know, Fanny, it is what it is. It comes to territory. You know, you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And once you beat the best, you want to stay the best. You know what I mean?
Don't hate us because we beautiful.
I love it. All right. Final topic before we get out of here. We talked about Kevin Patulo and how the Eagles are going to overcome that, because that is going to be a challenge nonetheless, even though I think they will get through it just fine. And we kind of touched on health updates with Nakobe Dean and Jihaad Campbell a little bit. Let's tap into some position battles, and then we'll close this door.
Okay.
CB2, right guard, safety, and edge. I believe that's where most of the position battles are. Maybe you throw in linebacker between Jeremiah Trotter Jr. and Smile Mondon, because Campbell and Dean are hurt, and who will be the starter in week 1 will be the question. But when you look at CB2, you see Keely Ringo versus the field, essentially, right? Adoree Jackson, Eli Ricks, Matt McWilliams, right? The rookie they drafted. Then at right guard, Tyler Steen versus the field. You got Tyler Steen versus Kenyon Green. You got Tyler Steen versus Trevor Keegan, right? You got
Matt Pryor.
You got Tyler Steen versus Matt Pryor, versus some of the other rookies as well, right? So then safety, Drew Makuba versus Sidney Brown. And then at edge, we know Nolan Smith is the lock, but Jalen Hunt. Okay, what's his next step look like? You brought in Azeez Ojulari. You brought in Josh Uche. You drafted Antoine Powell-Ryland. You brought back Patrick Johnson, right? I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. You still got Jihaad Campbell, who can play the position. So I'm looking at some of these position battles, and I want to get your perspective. Which one stands out to you the most? Which one are you more excited to see right now?
Honestly, I want to see Jalen Hunt.
Not many people have brought that up. A lot of people think he's a lock, and
he is a lock, but
a lock on the roster. But I mean, as far as getting the bulk of the reps on edge between him and Nolan, and the rest of those guys, that is going to be a question, because if Azeez Ojulari can stay healthy and prove that he can get to the quarterback, like he's proved throughout his career, that's going to be interesting to see how that rotation works. I think the Eagles want to keep Ojulari on the pitch count, though.
I want to see Jalen Hunt and Sidney Brown.
Yeah,
those are the two I want to see. I want to see Jalen Hunt because I want to see this kid from a small school just continue to wreck shop, and now you got more competition.
I love his measurables.
Sidney Brown. Sidney Brown was putting it down until he got hurt. It was good until it wasn't. And I know he's been doing his rehab. I like the physical play. But that kid, Drew Makuba, pretty damn good.
His coverage skills are legit.
So we will see. So I want to see the whole secondary thing. I'm a fan of Reed Blankenship, Middle Tennessee, OVC conference I used to play in.
Mm-hmm.
So I got love for Reed Blankenship because, I got a thing for guys that aren't the biggest, strongest, fastest, but always are where they're supposed to be. That's what Reed Blankenship is.
Mm-hmm.
He's a quarterback. He can tell everybody in that secondary where they're supposed to be. That's why he's so good.
Smart player,
man. Our depth right now in our secondary is second to none. We're good. So all I need now is for Vic Fangio to do what Vic Fangio's been doing. Vic Fangio has been surprisingly old school when it comes to who's going to step on that field. And you need a dose of that. If I don't think you're playing the best, you ain't playing. Until you prove to me that you know what the hell we doing. I'm not putting you out on that field. Because we raised holy hell with your boy last year. What was the linebacker that never played?
You talking about Bryce Huff?
Nah. The linebacker we got from Tampa Bay.
Oh, Devin White.
We raised holy hell. Why ain't Devin White playing? What is Vic Fangio doing? But that showed me right there, man. Sometimes we need to shut the hell up and let grown folks finish their talking.
But isn't it fair to say that they kind of gave us the okie doke on that?
They did.
They gave us the okie doke all off season. Devin White They did,
but my point is that even when we think we know what we looking at. We don't know what we looking at.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
You can't pass judgment and you're not in the room. There is a, and this is what it comes to for me. You can't tell me, and I'm hands off now. If Jihaad Campbell ain't playing, he ain't supposed to be playing. If Drew Makuba ain't starting, he ain't supposed to be starting.
And that's what I love about this coaching staff right now. Christian Parker,
yes.
Rory Anderson as the cornerback coach, Joe Casper as the safety coach, Bobby King coaching the inside linebackers, Washburn coaching the edge guys and the off-ball linebackers, right? Clint Hurt coaching the linemen. Vic Fangio is the DC. Like, I love this coaching staff because the one thing that we can be sure of, the people that's on the football field belong on the football field.
Belong on that football field.
And those of you that are not on the football field, we know they couldn't hack it at the time.
Correct.
And because it's some teams, it's some fan bases that struggle with their respective coaching staffs, you know, saying like, why is this guy playing? I don't understand. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing. Like this, why is this guy on the bench? He did this, he did that when he played. It was times we had conversations about that in Philly. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But now this Vic Fangio setup is like, we know without a shadow of a doubt that this is not a democracy.
Trust is 100%.
Like,
it's 100%.
Flat out.
I never thought I would say that. Vic Fangio and Jeff Stoutland are at the same level right now. I have the trust I have for Stoutland, and Stoutland University is the same I got for Vic Fangio. They talked all of that shit down there.
That's how
Miami. He was old school, couldn't do this. All he had was your suspect team to the number 10 defense in the league. And then y'all talking about kicking rocks when he left. Okay.
And they had injuries too. Like people forget they had a lot of injuries like on the D line and linebackers. Like they got decimated on defense. But bro, that's how I pray. The only thing separating Stoutland and Fangio on this Eagles organization is just the tenure, the time invested. That's it. But both these guys have submitted themselves as people I trust unequivocally.
100%. 100%. After what I saw last year. And the whole situation with like I said, Devin White and all of that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And we thought we had all the answers, man.
Did we?
We thought we had all the answers. You know what? It just taught me, like, don't forget them times you used to sit in the film room and you see what's going on and you know what the deal is. And everybody can't do that. You got teams that, hey, we paying this guy such and such. Mm-hmm. We gotta play him. Guess what? Bryce Huff's ass was on the bench. Rightfully so.
Yo, he got 0 snaps
in the Super Bowl. He didn't dress.
No, not. Oh, he didn't dress in the Super Bowl?
I don't think so.
I think he dressed in that game. But I'll say this though, not just that game. I looked up his playoff reps, just zeros across the board.
Bryce Huff was inactive for the Super Bowl.
He was a nothing burger. Damn.
He was on the sideline with a pass and street clothes.
He was on the sideline with a cup of Gatorade and sunflower seeds.
There you go.
And that's why how do you bounce back from that? How do you bounce back from that?
Nah, listen, when you in that situation, he ain't got to come over no hurdles. He got a whole camp. He's in the driver's seat. You got a whole camp.
You got the money.
And you got a season. You got your payday, so that's not an issue. You know what Vic Fangio expects of you. You know the defense now. You know the defensive scheme. You know what you're supposed to do. He got everything in front of him. He knows what's expected of him. So he ain't got no excuses. The only thing he got to do is play. So it's not like I don't think it's a big mental thing. You know, and that's, again, you looking at the credit for Vic Fangio being that old school type of guy that says, hey, if you're not getting the job done, you're not playing. And at the end of the day, especially as a player, if that is the end all be all, I can accept that because my play wasn't good enough. And even if you don't agree with it, you can always go back and look at the film.
Yeah, Bryce just looked like he wasn't having fun after a while.
It did.
And I think as a coach, because Fangio's up top, he sees everything. Fangio, I think it gets to a point where the coach says, "Okay, if you're not enjoying this, I can't even put you out there because like you're not even playing with your heart in it." That's a different thing to coach against if you're Vic Fangio. But
think about it like this: you don't think our coaching staff didn't learn anything from that guy we signed from Chicago? What was the defensive end we signed from Chicago?
Robert Quinn, we traded for him. Robert Quinn.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Robert Quinn did a whole lot of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
He was good in his best years when he was in his prime in Chicago.
He was
good.
It was a good swing by Howie. I'm not mad at the swing at all.
He just struck out. He ain't even foul tip that. He just struck out. And it was, I looked at Robert Quinn like I looked at James Bradbury. James Bradbury was good in 2022. And then he didn't have a gradual decline. He fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
Same thing with Quinn.
Yeah.
It just didn't work. And the wheels wasn't turning no more. And that's okay. Because you can look at that on film and it was like, man, I know what you used to be, but bruh, you watching the same film I'm watching. And you can't think you was getting it done. Don't mean you don't have the talent in you, but for whatever reason, things weren't clicking.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
So I think Bryce Huff will be fine. He still got a ring. He's still considered a Super Bowl champion.
Yeah, yeah.
So yes, he's gonna have a chip on his shoulder, and that's the other thing. Now you got somebody out to prove something. So I think he's in better shape than people want to give him credit for.
Yeah. I guess my only thing is, because I would like to think he's on his roster week 1. I can't definitively say that right now. But the only anchor I think he has is because they owe him the money this year anyway. He's
correct.
It's the only anchor. So like, I mean, he's here. He's depth. I mean,
he's in a win-win situation.
Yeah.
If for whatever reason they cut him, they got to pay him. Maybe they'll try to restructure his contract. Howie will give him a big payout, but in the big scheme of things, it's a lot less money than what they would owe him if he was on the team. And he'll get picked up by somebody. So he can't lose. You got a Super Bowl ring. You're going to get the opportunity to play. If it don't go your way, you're going to collect money if they kick you out of there, and somebody's going to pick you up. He can't lose. He ain't got nothing to lose.
Yeah, I dig that. Keely Ringo has a lot to lose, though.
Yeah.
He has a lot to lose because he's entering year 3.
Mm-hmm.
And they've cleared the runway for you. I mean, they brought in Adoree Jackson to keep the veteran depth there and challenge you a bit. But Ringo, they've cleared. They're giving you the path.
I think he'll be fine,
and I think ultimately he'll be fine as well. But it is a conversation piece. Darius Slay is a guy who's been very steady for you, very steady. And Howie Roseman has put himself in a position where he's moving on from guys a year early rather than a year too late. And I'm not mad at the logic. That's the Bill Belichick approach.
I think they were right on time with Slay, and on time with CJGJ too.
Yeah, I think more so the Slay part. I don't know about CJGJ yet. This Chauncey Gardner-Johnson movie. I don't know about that yet personally. But why do you think they were on time with that move in particular? Because we agree with the Slay part. We agree, but
I think there was more going on with CJ Gardner-Johnson than he let on with the personality and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Some little thing that I noticed back during the season when they caught his little speech on camera and all of that type of stuff. The biggest telltale, and I could be totally wrong, but the biggest telltale for me was look at how many people were surprised he had something to say. And I was like,
are you talking about for the Super Bowl? Like when they were all in that room and they were just talking like
no, this was on the field. This was not Super Bowl. This was on the field. This was
what game?
I want to say the Rams, maybe the Rams week.
Or was it Dallas week? Because he was mic'd up Dallas week.
It could have been. But I don't even think this was at a practice. This was not.
Oh no, okay. No, you're talking about the game before the game for the Rams. The game for the Rams. They were practicing and they were practicing at the link. And he was like, "Listen, y'all know I talk a lot of shit."
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Did you see it? Like look at the background. Look at the looks of everybody's face.
I've done that a lot.
Yeah. So
what did you see?
I'm saying that because they didn't expect it. Why didn't they expect it? He's somebody I look at as a leader on the team. He does a lot of mouthing off on the field, which is why he said what he said. Why do you, out of all the people, out of all the times, that struck me as a little bit off, because he knew, in my opinion, that this was going to be his last shot to get that ring, and this was going to be his best shot to get that ring. So whatever may have happened in the past, and again, I could be completely wrong, but this is just my observation. For somebody that doesn't necessarily speak, for somebody that's the loudest person on the field, but won't speak in those situations, because when you speak in those situations, there is a measure of responsibility and captainship that it sounds like he wasn't used to having. Because now everybody's watching you and everybody's listening, and you still got to back it up.
You know where I think the shift happened for CJ. The shift happened for Gardner-Johnson after he got ejected from that Washington game.
I agree.
I personally believe that was the corner. That was when he said, "Okay, how I've been doing this. If we're going to be the best version of ourselves, if I'm going to be the best version of myself, I can't keep doing this the way I've been doing." So I think that Commanders game, to your point about him speaking up, I think that Commanders game is when he had the moment of clarity, like, okay, we can actually do something this year. I cannot let me be the reason why we don't.
Correct.
So
correct. And again,
maybe that's why he took
that tape. Look at the reaction on everybody else.
I'm watching it again though, but I also think that's why he took what Slade said so personally, or what he didn't say.
I agree,
because I think CJ in his mind is that on that last leg of the season, I did everything possible to prove that I'm a leader to my guys. I've done the work on myself these past several weeks. I've shown through my actions. You know, I've spoken up. The night before the Super Bowl, that week when they got there, where they were all in the ballrooms and a bunch of the leaders on the team spoke up and they had something to say. BG spoke, Jalen spoke, Milata spoke, AJ spoke, Saquon spoke, and CJ Gardner-Johnson spoke, and CJ was crying. You know, he showed the most emotion up there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if, again, we're not in the locker room.
No.
But I don't know if they're used to seeing him speak in that way with that level of passion.
Yeah.
And where it came from. And again, like I said, I think he turned that corner after that Commanders loss. And I think that's why he took what Slade said or didn't say so personally, because he felt like in his mind, I'm doing the science, I'm doing the work to try to be the guy you guys can trust and be that guy.
Right. But why?
He probably felt like my OG overlooked me.
Why would somebody have that point of view?
It's more data to show otherwise.
Because he wasn't. If you so worried about what Slade may have said or something like that, why you worried about it if it ain't true?
See, that's tricky for me, because you may feel you can feel in your heart it's not true, and still say to yourself, I've been doing okay. I think I know. I'm about to get personal. Sometimes, speaking for myself, I feel like if I'm putting in the work to be better, and it's not being acknowledged that I'm doing the science, I'm doing the work, I'm doing the self-work to be better, sometimes that going unnoticed can force you to revert back to old habits.
It can, but I think, in my opinion, I think CJ Gardner's problem was not his work. It was how he went about it. It was the mouthing off and do you think he only mouth off on the field? You know what his personality is.
That's a good point.
And to his credit, I think CJ Gardner-Johnson is somebody that'll keep it 100 with you. all the time, 100% of the time.
I appreciate that when I appreciate that.
And sometimes that can rub people the wrong way.
Yeah.
Mr. Stand in front of Tom Brady's face, and that's 100% of the time. And sometimes people like that don't know when to turn it off because they can't. But you still have to dumb it down. You still have to reel it in so you can communicate because everybody ain't ready to receive that.
I hear what you're saying.
And it comes off as very.
If you're not used to that, it can make you uncomfortable. If you're not used to that, it can make you uncomfortable. You know what I mean?
And part of being a leader is knowing how to communicate
with everybody.
Part of being a leader is knowing your personnel.
Mm-hmm. Part
of being a leader is knowing you can't go 100% on this person.
Yeah.
You can go 100% on that person because you got to know your personnel. And in my opinion, I think that might be he was ruffling some feathers, which going back to my original point, that's why he got some of the looks he got. Not because of what he said, because what he said was spot on. Spot on. But he prefaced it. Did you catch that? He prefaced it. Y'all know I talk a lot of shit.
A lot of shit.
You know I talk a lot of.
You heard people in the background say. You heard people in the background say, "Yeah, we know, we know."
Exactly. So I'm saying all that to say that maybe he was rubbing some people the wrong way, and he finally got it together, and he got it together to play one of his best games in the Super Bowl, but not to save his job in Philadelphia.
Yeah, and look, that's not taking anything away from him as a person. Like CJ, he's the kind of guy you want to go to war with. He arrived for you.
Exactly.
He always believe in you. CJ, he called it in week 3. He said, "We got the best defense in the NFL, and y'all gonna find out."
Yeah,
like this was just a taste. We got the best secondary in the league. We got the best defense. We got the best defense. He was saying that then when they were 2-1. They were 2-1. They coming off the Atlanta loss.
Yeah.
And then they lost to the Buccaneers the way they did. Like he knew what they had. And things worked out the way it worked out. Look, I still wish the best for CJ. I still got a lot of love for CJ.
Let me be honest with you. I still wish he was here. However, people have to understand, and they got to realize, Howie Roseman don't want to lose. Nick Sirianni don't want to lose. Whatever you think of them as a coach, they are not doing anything that they think is going to help them lose. You feel what I'm saying?
That's a good point. It's easy to overlook that.
Addition by subtraction. And if Howie Roseman thought that was the best way to go, that's the way he going.
And I mean, look what he got back for him. Like it seemed like that move just seemed like a get it done move, not a I care about what I get back type of move. You know what? He got back something that he knew he could flip, an offensive lineman.
Absolutely.
He got back the safest position that he know that his team can build, an offensive lineman. I ain't even mad at it. You got a draft pick too. So nonetheless, though, man, it's been a hell of a show, Marcus. Man, you always get to the shits, and we always have great talks about this game, man, past, present, and future.
It's levels to this, bro.
Yeah, it is, man. Any final words before we get out of here?
Nah, man. I'm ready for OTAs to start, but please, 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 pump your brakes, man. Don't be telling me Jalen Hurts threw dimes when he threw a 5-yard out. just relax. It's only OTAs. They warming up. He didn't throw a 40-yard dime against air. They just warming up, man. Just relax. Let the young fellas learn what it means to be a Philadelphia Eagle and be a pro. That's what OTAs is about. Getting these young fellas acclimated, knowing what they got to do, getting them used to their environment, get them used to the new voices, new coaches, new protocols, learning what you're supposed to be doing. So just relax until training camp start. Then you can go nuts.
Hey, it's just that simple, you guys. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to our channel. Subscribe to Coach Markus at Pro Fan Talk. That's Pro Fan Talk. Make sure you guys are subscribed to Pro Fan Talk. He does amazing work covering not only the NFL and covering your Eagles, but also covering the WNBA as well, and just covering the overall sports industry as a whole. So make sure you guys go check out Coach Markus again at Pro Fan Talk. Does amazing work one of my favorite guys to work with. And make sure you guys check me out as well at Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. That's Chalk It Up Sports. I'm your guy, Tone DeShields II. He's Markus Thomas. And play that song, my man. We out of here.
Go Birds.
In the city of Philly, where the birds take flight, Eagle swag on the rise each and every night. Tone and Markus got the scoop ready to ignite. From the lanes of South Street to the Broad Street lights, dashing like a running back, hitting every play. 9 guys in the zone, never led astray. Talking touchdowns, talking game day. Huddle around the mic, hear what they gotta say. Fly like an eagle, soars in the sky. Tone and Markus always standing by, bringing their heat, call it do or die. Philly squad, hear the battle cry. Fly like an eagle, soars in the sky. Tone and Markus always standing by, bringing their heat, call it do